Spring is here and things are buzzing. Farmers and pollinators are working together to help feed us. In fact, 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat exists because of bees, butterflies, birds, bats, and other insects. Pollinators are important to our food system and the ecosystem overall. That's why farmers and those in the agricultural industry are working together to protect pollinators through education, research, and conservation efforts. Visit ilagformonarchs.org to join the buzz. That's ilagformonarchs.org.
Does the warmer weather have you itching for a weekend getaway? Take your Illinois Farm Bureau membership savings with you.
Farm Bureau members can save up to 20% at choice hotels, including favorites like Comfort Suites, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn and Suites, with even more to choose from.
Call 800-258-2847 or visit the Choice Hotels website to search all the hotels at once and to make advance reservations.
Contact your local County Farm Bureau for your discount code number.
You're listening to RFD Town and Country Partners, connecting you with the food you eat, the Illinois farmers who grow it, and the food-related events, destinations, and lifestyles that make our state great.
Welcome, everyone, to RFD Town and Country Partners. Producer Nick McClintock behind the mic today. Finally let me behind the mic again. I'm really appreciative of it. And also joining me here in studio for this Friday edition is RFD Radio Network Business Manager Sabrina Hardy. Sabrina, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. First time here.
First time behind the mic, which is awesome. We're full of firsts today. And then also joining us in studio is horticulture extension educator extraordinaire, Kelly, also from U of I Extension here in McLean and also Livingston and Woodford County.
Yes, thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well, you said that
Perfection. I will come anytime you would like for me to be here.
There we go. You said that you try to get your boss to do that. Well,
yep.
If it's on the radio, then you have to put it on the name tag.
Okay.
So there you go.
I'm down with that, yeah.
I think new business cards will be in the mail for you on Monday.
Okay.
But we really appreciate Kelly coming in studio today. And what we're going to talk about, we're going to probably talk about several things, but the main thing we're going to touch on today is blueberries. And growing blueberries here in the state of Illinois. Now, I will be upfront with everyone. I think I've said it before on this show. I've said it before on other shows. I'm not a big fruits and veggies person, which is why Sabrina is here. She is. And so whenever you're talking about, Kelly, how the best way to grow blueberries here in the state, I would assume that for part of the program it will sound like Latin to me. But I definitely want to get, and I'm sure that other people across the state want to get your expertise in growing blueberries.
Yes, blueberries are a really cool crop. Everybody loves them on their morning cereal. But you have to, do a few things in your garden to prepare for you to get a good blueberry crop. And most people, they look at their garden and they say, that's just dirt. Well, no, we as farmers and horticulturists know it's not just dirt. So when a blueberries like their soil to be acidic. We know here in Illinois, our soil is not acidic. It's more alkaline. Also, our water is more alkaline too. So if we're going to plant blueberries, we need to amend the pH. So how do you know what your pH is? You have to get a soil test.
And how does one go about doing that?
So University of Illinois Extension has a list of soil test labs. And you could just Google that, find it very easily. We also at the Extension office have soil testing kits. We're not affiliated with the lab, but we have their kits and we can give them to the public. And then you follow the directions and know your soil pH. So you want a low soil pH. So you have to amend the soil. And that soil test will actually tell you what to do. And to keep the soil pH down and the water from trying to raise that pH up, you're going to add ammonium sulfate every year to keep that soil pH down. So now that you've addressed your soil pH, now you need to address the fluffiness of the soil.
So what you're saying here is after you've gotten your soil to the correct pH, you can't just then throw blueberry seeds on the ground and then just say, all right, cool, here we go.
No, you can't.
See, this is my gardening expertise talking right now.
Do you need to check your pH every year?
I think it would definitely help to follow up. Maybe not every year, but follow up after a couple of years of application, especially if your blueberries are not growing well.
Okay.
They might tell you by exhibiting, poor crops. A really good example of pH. You know those big mop head hydrangeas?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Beautiful, big, huge flowers. If they turn blue, that means your soil is on the more acidic side. If they turn pink, your soil's more on the alkaline side. So most of them are naturally going to go pink because of the pH of Illinois soils. But if you want them to be blue, you have to add this ammonium sulfate. That will actually lower the pH. But back to fluffiness of the soil, you want to amend your soil with organic matter or peat moss because the roots of blueberries will not bust through the clay of Illinois. And some of us do struggle with clay, right? So that's another big thing. So amending that soil is huge when it comes to blueberries. You do that, and you'll have great blueberries. But you also, there's a couple of minor maintenance. You can't let it go through drought. You have to water during drought. We usually water our tomatoes during drought, right? If we didn't supplemental water our tomatoes, would we have tomatoes?
Probably not.
Would that be a big deal for you?
No, not at all. Well,
it would be a big deal for us.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, I cannot go through a summer without a gazpacho or a caprese salad or a tomato sandwich. So it needs additional watering. And then, though, if you've ever grown a fruit tree, you know that we do pruning during the dormant season. So that bush, you want to open it up and prune out some of those canes and just leave the strongest ones behind. And then you don't harvest blueberries in the first 2 years. You actually go in and remove those flowers. So you don't get blueberries for 2 years.
So what you're saying is, for someone who is a huge fan of blueberries and wants to grow them here in the state of Illinois, and I would assume this is the case with anyone growing blueberries in any state, is the fact that you're gonna work for your end product, but at the end of it, you get something to. At the end of your third growing season, you're gonna have something to bring home.
Oh, yes, but if you don't address these issues, then you get a nice dead ugly plant.
One thing I did want to go back to is whenever you're talking about adding peat moss and things like that to the soil, how much how much are you insulating that from the topsoil to make sure that we have good root hold taking place?
Roots usually grow in the top 7 inches of the soil. I just try to mix it up and give it a nice mix. I don't, some, farmers will do this part per acre or 100 yards. I just, throw a bunch of compost on top and keep trying to add a little bit more compost each year to improve that. But I don't want to add too much because then I'll start messing with my pH a little bit.
Is there any type of other fruits and vegetables that would also be conducive to this type of to the soil and things that you're adding that would you could grow alongside these blueberries?
Well, all plants actually want a lower pH.
Okay.
When I was a greenhouse grower, we actually used to pump acid into our water system to lower the pH of plants. So any plant like a raspberry or a blackberry would do just fine in a lower pH soil. It's just they'll grow in a higher pH soil, but not blueberries. Blueberries are really specific.
This time with Kelly Alsop has really flown by. We're already down to just a minute left. But Sabrina, your favorite thing to have do you like to just eat blueberries by themselves, or your favorite thing to put blueberries?
I eat them just alone. I just like popping them in my mouth. I don't even like to share them when I have them at home with the family.
Right? I always say, how often do you eat things that are blue?
Right.
You eat blueberries. See, you're missing the color blue from your diet.
Well, see, that is where you would be wrong, because I do definitely like for breakfast a nice, fresh blueberry Pop-Tart.
You're missing all the antioxidants.
I don't know if that counts.
It's also kind of an unnatural blue on top of that. So.
Yes. So we're getting, particular minerals and antioxidants because we're eating the color blue.
There you go. And I really need to visit the vitamin counter at my local drugstore.
Blueberries taste better than vitamins any day.
You're right there. I was going to make a joke there. I'm not even going to.
Okay.
Sabrina, thanks so much for coming in. Like I said, we're already out of time. Kelly, thanks so much, and we'll look forward to having you back on. We'll talk about more gardening.
Thank you.
All right. Kelly also with U of I Extension, educator in Livingston, McLean, and Woodford Unit, and Sabrina Hardy, RFD Radio Network Business Manager. We'll be back with more Town & Country Partners.
Are you preparing for planting season? We don't mean to be a pest, but here's a few things you need to know before you grow. The Illinois Department of Agriculture now requires special local needs labels, including new restrictions for the use of herbicide dicamba on top of soybeans in Illinois for the 2019 growing season. Did you know these additional restrictions go beyond federally approved labels? Remember, the label is the law. To find out more about these Illinois-specific labels, visit ilfb.org/label-aware.
Hello, I'm Trooper Teal at the Illinois State Police. April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. According to the most recent report from the National Highway Safety Administration, 394,450 people were either injured or killed in distracted driving-related incidents. Avoid distractions while driving, such as talking on your cell phone, texting, eating, and even adjusting the radio. Wear your seatbelt and remember to just drive.
A message from the Illinois Farm Bureau and the Illinois State Police.
With what happens on the farm can impact your family and is related to food, I'm Mike Orso with RFD Town & Country Partners. Many Illinois and other farmers have experienced slumping prices for their commodities over the last half-decade, but perhaps dairy farmers have probably taken it on the chin the longest. Joe Engel represents an endangered species in one northern Illinois county.
Did I read somewhere that there are only 3 dairy farms left in Kane County? Is that true?
That is correct.
Wow. And you're one of them.
And we're one of them. This was once a hot spot for dairy, and now we're down to 3.
Engel and other dairy farmers are good at what they do. So much so that overabundance has resulted in the slumping prices he and others receive for their milk.
Very cyclical. We have our highs, we have our lows. The difference is the low's pretty low, and we've never had one so long. We're losing dairy farms throughout the state and throughout the country.
As a member on the board of the Kane County Farm Bureau, Engel and other farmers have witnessed the need for better nutrition through their long-standing relationship with the Northern Illinois Food Bank. Enter the local Farm Bureau's 10,000-gallon milk challenge.
We have this surplus of milk right now. That's why we have tough milk prices. And we have hungry people in our community. We shouldn't have both. We should be able to, work together to find a solution.
Cow's milk packs a powerhouse of nutrients. Joe Engel knows in more ways than one.
My wife and Margaret and I, we have 4 children with a 5th on the way, but we're also foster parents in a Safe Families home. And we see firsthand the need there is, especially among children, to get high quality nutrition. As a parent to these kids, you see how it affects them physically, their physical strength, and to have a balanced diet, how it affects them also with their social and behavioral challenges. We see that need firsthand, and that's what makes me really passionate about it.
The Kane County Group has raised about $7,500 thus far, about $1,600 coming from the sale of one of Angle's prized calves, toward their $10,000 goal to help move surplus milk into food banks. They've scattered milk jugs in businesses throughout Kane County, but they're accepting online contributions too. You can find out more at Kane County Farm Bureau. That's KANE, countyfarmbureau.com. For RFD Town and Country Partners, I'm Mike Orso.
It's where your home is built, your landscape is planted, and your children play. Land is all around us, so Illinois farmers have dedicated years to learning how to best care for it. Today, we're bridging modern knowledge with resources from Mother Nature to promote natural soil activity and choosing crops that enhance soil health. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Jim Taylor back on the RFD Radio Network, in time now for our weekly IHSA segment on Town and Country Partners.
We're visiting with IHSA Administrator Sam Knox. He oversees both football and baseball. We'll first up talk about football. I know we're hearing a lot in the aftermath of the district scheduling proposal being approved by the membership and moving forward to 2021, the implementation of that. I know a lot of conversation I hear in my travels, Sam Knox, is there's going to be a counter proposal through the legislative bylaw process. Do we know much about that other than rumor and speculation right now?
Well, we've heard many of those rumors and speculations too, but I will say that there was a principal who was in my office within just a few days of that vote announcement back in December, and he said, Sam, I'm not upset at the IHSA. I'm not upset with you. I know the process of how this all worked through the bylaw amendment proposal, but I don't agree with it, and I'm going to write a proposal to repeal the language before it has a chance to go into effect. So I've talked face-to-face with at least one principal who has told me he's going to write a proposal, and we've heard, just like you have, that many others are going to write proposals too.
And how the legislative bylaw process works, we were talking a bit off the air. Most of those bylaw proposals are submitted during the new school year, which would be next school year. So that's normally in the fall when you hear stuff like that. You haven't, I guess what I'm saying right now, you haven't heard officially with a proposal being submitted to the Bloomington office yet.
That's correct. And most of those proposals, people try to share thoughts through their conference meetings and other principals and ADs around their area where they live. What do you think about this? Would there be much support? And then usually they formally submit those in writing in the fall of the new school year.
And then in terms of, give us a refresher course then how this bylaw amendment proposal works. So the proposal is submitted. There are town hall meetings that occur in the fall that member schools can attend, and then it goes to the Legislative Commission, and they kind of determine if that gets on the ballot or not. Long story short, I guess, am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're in the ballpark. The Legislative Commission actually meets twice in November. They meet early in November, and they review all of the proposals that have been submitted, and they talk among the group of pros and cons, and what do you think about this, what do you think about that, and without really making any formal ruling or recommendation on them. It's just a discussion. And then we go out, our staff at the IHSA goes out to all the town meetings around the state, and that's when we meet with all the principals or athletic directors, official representatives who show up to represent their school. And we go over the pros and cons again, get some feedback, take a straw poll, how many people support this, how many people don't support this, how many have no opinion. And then the legislative commission gets back together again following those town meetings, and they look at that feedback. All right, Proposal 1 regarding residence and transfer seemed to have about 90% support from around the state. Okay, probably makes sense to put that on the ballot for our schools to vote. Proposal 2 regarding some other topic only had about 15% support from around the state. That one's probably not going to go onto the ballot. But that second meeting is where the Legislative Commission formally decides which proposals go from being simply a proposal to officially on the ballot for the schools to vote. And normally we get in the 20s, maybe 30 proposals, but all of those don't always make it to the ballot.
And then it's up to the member school to cast a ballot, and each member school's 800 some odd get one vote on those issues, right?
That's correct. And those schools get to vote on every proposal, whether or not they even have that sport or activity. So, for example, if there was something on the ballot about wrestling and a small school doesn't have a wrestling program, they still get to vote, and they have 3 options. Yes, I support it. No, I don't support it. Or I don't have an opinion. And that no opinion vote really it doesn't count. It's just kind of it doesn't count as a no. It doesn't count as a yes. It just means I don't have an opinion, so I'm not voting yes or no. And we did hear some feedback from schools last fall. Well, gosh, this football bylaw proposal passed by only 17 votes. Why did every school in the state get to vote on it, even if they don't have a football team? Well, that's just the way our Constitution and bylaws are written, that everybody votes on every topic, whether or not they have that sport or activity. And we're not able to personalize a ballot, so to speak, to a certain high school, knowing whether or not they have football or wrestling or swimming or tennis or golf. They just get to vote on all of the proposals that are out there. As we sit here today in April, we are preparing, and we put pencil to paper and made up some rough drafts of what district assignments might look like, because as of today, that was voted in by our membership, and we plan on preparing that in the fall of 2021. But even as we have begun to put rough drafts together, we hear almost every week of a school choosing 8-man, so they're out of the equation, or a school choosing to co-op with another school, so that takes 2 schools on the map and shrinks it down to 1. Or in some cases, a co-op is going to break up, and School A is going to have its own team, and School B is going to have its own team, so we go from 1 football team on our map to suddenly now that's sprouted into 2. So you're right, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of unknowns at this point, but we're moving forward with the anticipation that districts will be here in the fall of 2021. And if something changes in the bylaw amendment proposal process and schools vote to repeal that language, we'll be back to life as we've always known it, I guess.
That's Sam Knox with the IHSA joining us on the RFD Radio Network's Town and Country Partners. I'm Jim Taylor.
Thank you for joining us for RFD Town and Country Partners. Get out and enjoy Illinois.